Good morning, guys. Today is another vlog day, and today I'm going to be vlogging my first ever night shift in intensive care unit or in the ICU. First day is always scary, and especially nights, I don't know what it's going to be like. During the day it's very, well staffed and well supported, but at nights there's only 3 of us. So if a patient becomes really unwell, it'll be, I think, really scary. But we'll see. I hope it's okay, because every time I vlog, it tends to be a very busy night. So hopefully that doesn't follow through, and I hope that all the patients are okay. Stay tuned to see whether it becomes busy or whether it's quite calm and nice. So let's do portfolio. Maximum permitted absence from training. We can need that. We're not leaving off. Next one is a satisfactory educational supervisor's end of year report. That's what we're gonna do. Core procedures. I don't have any core procedures.
Any?
I have half. Oh, that is stupid. Baby, sweat. Baby, let's teleport up. I arrived 10 minutes before my shift in the doctor's office. Once I sat down, the consultant entered the room and looked at me and said, "So you're doing night shift tonight? It's gonna be a very busy night," and then left. And then, of course, I was shocked. This was my first night shift. I don't know what a busy night means, but thankfully another doctor, so a CT2 doctor, 3 years more senior than me, entered the room, asked my name and said, "Are you night shifts?" I said yes. She told me she was night shifts too, and to not worry, it'll be okay, and we have a good team tonight. And then we went to the handover together, and that lasts for around an hour. I think ICU handovers are longer than medicine handovers because the patients in ICU are the sickest in the hospital. We say bye to the day team, we take our bleeps, and then we go to the unit. So the ICU is divided into 3. There's the red zone, the orange zone, and the green zone. Different zones depending on the patient's COVID status. After handover, we go to the orange or red zone, and what we do is we don. So we don our PPE, which is our full PPE equipment. You probably have watched in the news or have seen what it looks like. It involves wearing your hairnet, wearing your eye goggles, wearing a FFP mask, which is different from a surgical mask. It's very good, and we have fit mask testing to make sure that the mask that we have fits our face and protects us fully. And then we also have our gown, and then we have our gloves, and because we're all in this full equipment and it's really difficult to tell the staff apart, we have to write our names down. Interesting thing is that in the unit, it actually is like a loop. So let me explain the loop. So you go into the ICU unit, there's a donning station where you put all your full PPE, then you enter through one door, and that is the only entrance to the unit. Then you go and see all your patients, everything is there, you don't need your pen, stethoscope, and then there's an exit, so that's your only way out. Then there's a station there for doffing, which just means removing your PPE. So yeah, it's actually a well-run system. So this was a really busy night. So we were in our full PPE for 5 hours. Just think, we are not allowed to bring our water bottles. It's more difficult to go to the toilet because then you have to don PPE again and do the whole process. I don't feel that uncomfortable, but I know people who are really uncomfortable with the PPE on because it is a very tight mask. mask and it gets really, really warm. What we do on a night shift is that the doctors split themselves up and we see all the patients and we do a nighttime review. So basically we do an ABCDE assessment of all the patients. So if you don't know an ABCD assessment, it's this, and we do them in order. And the nurses are amazing. So one thing that I noticed in ICU is that they have this big massive sheet and the nurses basically spend a lot of their time writing down the obs and writing down in this chart. So in one section there is the observations, which include blood pressure, heart rate, oxygen sats, their ventilation settings, how it changes. And then they also have a section for ABGs, not getting enough oxygen. Are they getting too much oxygen? Are they tiring? It helps us change the ventilation settings to help them improve their oxygenation. So the ABG is really important. And then we have all the complicated medications that they use in ICU all written down. All we need to do is sign it if we think the patient needs it. And then we have a fluid balance, which is really important. Doctors are really fussy about obs, which I talked about, and also they are also very interested in your fluid balance. So how much you're eating and drinking, how much you're pooing and peeing, it's very important. So yeah, it's all there. So it's actually really easy and I really enjoyed that aspect of doing the ABCDE, and it's a good time to talk to the nurses as well. Ask them if they have any concerns about everything and asking them, are they okay? Do they need help? While we do those assessments, there will be times where nurses will call us really worried about patients and we just troubleshoot those patients that are deteriorating. So during my 3 nights, the most common concerns from nurses are like high heart rate. Some patients had heart rates over 200. We want the SATs to be over 90%, but there are some patients dropping SATs of 70%. There's some patients that have really, really high blood pressures. Some patients have really low blood pressures. And then we also had to do, so in COVID, there's this thing that we do to help patients oxygenation, which we call proning. I'm not sure if you've heard of that. If you haven't, I'll leave a link down below. It just essentially is flipping the patient from their back to their front to help open up the lungs, increase the surface area, and improve oxygenation. So we do a proning round. We also do this supinating round. So if they've been prone for a certain amount of time, we should supinate them back or bring them back to their back. And then we just try to ensure that everyone is okay, all the nurses are happy, patients are all stable before we're able to go on a break. So on this particular night, we were in ICU wearing the full PPE for 5.5 hours before we were able to take a break. What I did was I tried to find a room to sleep, but I realized that a lot of staff members are sleeping in those rooms. So I walked around the hospital 3 times until I found a place. Before I slept though, when I was vlogging, one of the doctors who was sleeping's bleep went off. So if you haven't heard doctor's bleep, that's what it sounds like. I went back to the red unit. We just made sure that everything was okay. So the team is really nice. I just have to do a few tasks and just write in the notes and then go to Handover. So it was a good night actually. Oh my gosh. So it was really busy at the start, but I was able to get some rest, which is something that I don't normally get during night shifts. My last shift was the worst. I posted about it in my Instagram. Of course, because of confidentiality, I can't talk about it in much detail, but a lot of the patients every single night just kept deteriorating slowly, and unfortunately a few patients passed away during my last night. These patients, I've actually met them before and I've seen their progress, and I actually was rooting for them to do well, but again, it's just devastating and I can't even explain what I felt during that day. I just kind of shut myself down and just didn't think about it any further. I think it was because I was shocked. It was my first time seeing so much death in a day. Looking at other nurses and doctors who are also sad but weren't as fazed about it compared to me showed that they've seen so much and they've been through a lot. And a lot of the nurses are actually just tired. I asked them what they've been feeling. They said they don't know what they're feeling, just trying their best day by day, and it just seems like a really, really long marathon. I think the nurses are very overstretched as well, and they just do such a great job. I have so much respect for the ICU team and ICU staff. I'm sending prayers and love to all of them. I can't even imagine how they're feeling and how they're coping with all of this. I've only been working a few weeks. You do feel the pressure and you do feel the sadness, and yeah, some of the nurses and doctors that have been working in ICU have told me their horror stories that you don't even think would happen. I know that in some countries COVID is fine, it's okay, but here it's still a big issue. It just makes me very mindful of the importance of protecting yourself and others and to not take this lightly. It's been a really good learning experience. I chose to be redeployed to ICU because I wanted to volunteer and I wanted to help in any way possible. It's opened my eyes to what it's actually like in ICU and what happens to the sickest patients. I've learned lots in terms of my development as well. I've learned that I'm still not used to death, and I know as doctors that's something that we just have to get used to know that it exists and to have empathy and feel those emotions, but also need to not be so affected by it because it is something that we will see a lot as a doctor, of course. So I realized that that's something that I need to work on.